What if I told you that this entire April O'Neil and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reveal is a cynical attempt at tricking inarticulate fans to make a mistake so that Seth Rogen can yet again be a troll? And what if I said, I've got the receipts and I've been saying it for more than a year? Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. If you like that kind of content where we keep you ahead of all the other places, make sure to click that like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. We do covet your comments. We actually care about what you're thinking, so make sure to drop a comment before you leave today. And we're launching a new live show, which will debut March 23rd. That's going to be on Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Again, only on Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m., which will conveniently lead you straight into Midnight's Edge, and all times are Eastern on this channel. But one of those other channels out there that is able to also keep you ahead of the culture curve and help you understand what's going on is the Midnight's Edge I speak of, and that Midnight's Edge has been so gracious as to send us over the one and the only Tom Connors. Tom, I can't believe it took this long for you to be on the channel, but I'm excited that you're here.
Glad to finally be here. We've had you on a few times, so I'm glad to be at your house. This is nice.
That's right, reciprocating. Well, welcome aboard, and thanks for ringing the doorbell on the way in. All right, here we go, folks. We are talking about the, the storm, the excrement storm that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and April O'Neil. It's uglier than a yellow jumpsuit, but we're going to first start with articles that go back a little bit in the past and explain how we arrived here, because all of this was totally predictable. And not only is it totally predictable, but I predicted it. So we're going to lead into that. So here we go. This by Isabella Docto, Santa Inc., starring Seth Rogen, becomes lowest rated TV show ever. You'll find that over on the Daily Hive. Seth Rogen stars as Santa Claus in a new holiday comedy series that doesn't seem to be bringing joy to the world. Santa Inc., a new HBO Max series released December 2nd, has scored staggeringly low on Rotten Tomatoes and has earned the lowest rating ever on IMDb. Also note, ladies and gentlemen, that in my opinion, Rotten Tomatoes is the most manipulated scoring website out there. So the fact that it was able to score that low says something about its quality, even beyond what you might anticipate. It received an average audience score of 3% on Rotten Tomatoes and an IMDb rating of 1.1 out of 10. To me, that's even more impressive because I trust Metacritic quite a bit. All right, then we go over here to Bounding into Comics. This by John Trent. John was on the channel last week, and we love all the stuff that John puts out. Here's how Seth Rogen responded back then. And Tom, this is going to tell everybody what we all knew was coming.
Yeah. Basically, I hear you.
Yeah, anti-white activist Seth Rogen brags about telling people to go blank themselves as he calls critics of Santa Inc. really bad people. Anti-white activist. It didn't work out so well. Nobody's watching Santa Inc. for their holiday specials. Anti-white activist Seth Rogen recently described critics of his HBO Max animated series, by the way, according to Rotten Tomatoes, which again, one of the most highly manipulated review aggregators on the web. If you just take its score, that would mean he's calling 97% of the population this, given that it scored as low as it did. But anyway, he's calling the critics really bad people just days after bragging he makes sure to directly message people to go blank themselves, again covering the same thing. Rogen made his anti-white activism clear in an August 2020 interview with Entertainment Weekly's Leah Greenblatt, what a name, while attempting to promote An American Pickle film. He seems to have an obsession with pickles and sausages. I don't know why. In that interview, which Entertainment Weekly has now made unavailable, don't you love how the media works, Tom? Entertainment Weekly has now made unavailable. Wonder why. Rogen told Greenblatt, I mean, personally, I think I am just actively trying to make less things starring white people. So all of this was totally predictable. Seth Rogen, not a good person, okay? It doesn't matter if you think there should be more or less representation, whatever you may think. Seth Rogen he just sucks. And not only does he suck, but then when he sucks, he goes and he attacks other people with vitriolic statements that are just unfounded and disgusting.
Yeah. Well, as I
Yet
said on
Nickelodeon
Twitter, he
hired him.
can suck my and
But,
yeah.
but Nickelodeon hired him, Tom. So why do you think that Nick made this call? And let me say this before we start into it. I did a video yesterday about Disney not wanting our money, and I went through a number of things that Disney could just do that are simple, and they would make tons of money, and they won't. Why does Nickelodeon also not want our money when it comes to the Ninja Turtles?
That's a very good question, and I've been asking myself that for years because it's pretty obvious that the only things that sell are the classic stuff. But yeah, we covered this mess back then, and I had the same reaction to the announcement that Seth Rogen was going to be inserting himself in Ninja Turtles like he has been just about everything else lately. And this is something I was griping about this morning on my show. I mean, he's everywhere. I mean, he's like,
but he's a troll and a grifter. He doesn't make anything better.
No, he doesn't, and I don't understand it. He's in the new upcoming Mario movie. He was recently in the Chippendale movie. He was in Spielberg's new movie. It's like, where is this guy not showing up lately? It's more like you're better off going, what movie is he not in?
He's most famous for a stupid sounding laugh. I mean, he has no talent. What is going on?
I mean, he was semi-funny in like the 40-Year-Old Virgin with some of those guys, and he's part of that Judd Apatow crew, which most of them I could leave other than take. Like Paul Rudd and Jonah Hill are the only two out of that crew that really were worth a crap, and Paul Rudd technically had a career before that.
Sure.
But like Rogen, his last good film, as far as I was concerned, was also one of Kevin Smith's last good films, and that was, Zack and Miri. And at this point, it's like their batting averages are great when it comes to just pissing people off. Excuse my language, and not only that, doing the same thing these franchises. I mean, like I said, even Mario Brothers, a lot of people cringed with him being a voice on that, and he's working on some Darkwing Duck he's working on some Darkwing Duck reboot, I guess, too, on top of it all.
He's kind of like Triumph the insult comic dog, but he's an actual actor. But whenever he gets hired to do something, I hear Triumph saying in Seth Rogen's voice, "This will be something good for me to poop on." It's like he's not going to improve it in any way. In fact, the chances are he's going to destroy it. And when he does, take a look at this article from MovieWeb. This back December 6, 2021 by Samir Rupp Chowdhury. Seth Rogen says let's just say white bad people are review bombing his series Santa Inc. So that most terrible review score ever on Rotten Tomatoes, the most highly manipulated review aggregate website, in my opinion, on the web, it's because the bad people, apparently there's so many of them that they can review bomb something into oblivion because they exist at that number, that level. And so that says to me that either Seth Rogen is just a professional troll or he is completely paranoid. And which one is it? What do you think, Tom? Is he doing this on purpose? Is he trolling us all? Or is he legit just this stupid?
There was a time where I would have been like, I think he genuinely wants people to like him. I genuinely think he wants to do funny things and do a good job. But I think he's come to that point where he has listened to the Hollywood wokeified folk so much, he has bought into that bull crap. I mean, he recently said something like, living in LA, you should almost expect your car to get broken into. It's like almost like it was a good thing. I'm like,
you should expect to have your rights and your property violated. That's his message.
Yeah, he's clearly bought in. I've seen video of him, and when he had his new weed strain or whatever, he was looking weird as hell in that. And again, I'm not trying to shame anybody on anything, but like, look, Nickelodeon, this is from me to you, heart to heart, from a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan from, the time as I can remember seeing the first one when I was like 7, 8 years old, right? I don't understand this. Why would you get this guy who is known for his stoner / potty humor to work on one of your biggest franchises?
Well, I mean, okay, so think about it this way too. So just step back from that for a moment and say, okay, if the Ninja Turtles are done well, how much money can they make in a movie? And it's like, oh,
well,
I mean, $1 billion is on the table, I think. I think it's a big enough franchise that if you do it well, if you do it right, I think it's a
I
multi-generational
don't know about a
property.
billion, but I think maybe at least a half a billion or better.
Okay, let's do 500 million. Now, what you do then is you say, all right, if we put Seth Rogen in charge of it, what's the chances that we have either a financial flop or we make no money? And then you say, well, why would you roll that dice?
Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, because really, I mean, if you look at it, the 1990 film grossed quite a bit of money. It was the biggest independent film of all time um, until Blair Witch Project. But even then, at its height, I mean, it still was like Batman made twice, maybe even close to 3 times as much, just for comparison.
Well,
So it's not like
it needs to be said, Tom, that when that movie came out, the Turtles had only been in the major pop culture conscience for like a year, 2 years, maybe.
Oh yeah, you got a point. But then you go back to the Michael Bay Turtle films, and they clearly underperformed in comparison, even though they made $200 to $300 million at the box office. That first film,
but again, if you were looking for who could do the Turtles
much,
right, if you were looking for who would do the Turtles right, would you think Michael Bay? Because I would not think, And so this is a franchise in desperate search.
No, but I see where they came from, because they were looking at it from the angle of, okay, this is the guy that brought Transformers to the forefront.
Yeah. Right. They're looking at just money. They're just looking at the numbers without understanding the creative origins underneath. So they're looking at a stat sheet. Now let's take a look
even
right
on
now.
paper, you're right though. Like even Seth Rogen makes no sense to me outside of the age range that he was alive.
He did Sausage Party. I wouldn't think that was a huge box office blockbuster. He did this Santa Inc. It's abysmal. It was terrible. It's worthy of being, anybody who was part of it.
And this is why I wonder why he's in everything, because he was basically the reason why they had the Sony hack.
Right, but and now
that too.
Yeah, and now he's just sort of grifting into these things, right? And so this is another situation like this. So if we go to Twitter, and I want to show you how the media is trying to spin this already. So if we go to Twitter, and all I have done is searched for April O'Neil and selected top. And at the very top is Melanie Mack, who, by the way, will be on this channel on Friday for an interview. But she's at the very top. She's got 238,000 views on this. And she says, as always, people are pulling the you-know-what card at any April O'Neil criticism, activists at that. April is supposed to be beautiful. They could have given us a cute black April. They made her ugly on purpose. Race plays no role in that. And that's got 3,000 likes, essentially. We keep going down. Eric July's got another one. We keep going down. You'll start seeing some that, that are, they're in favor of it. And you see there, too, that the original image and how it's based on Kevin Eastman's girlfriend, the original concept art, the original way they drew this in the comic books. But that still doesn't justify at all. So this character was, I guess, mixed race, and that's cool, that's fine. But that still doesn't justify in any way at all taking a character and making the character look frumpy and ugly. And so that's what we're talking about. This character on the left, not on the right. Okay, so Melanie Mack pops up again there. On the right is what she's suggesting, could have been a cute version of this. And on the left is what we've got. A character who looks frumpy and dramatically out of shape, non-heroic, wearing clothes that I don't think in any way demonstrate heroism or idealism. I mean, she looks like a sad sack of potatoes. How's that? But that's the Twitter response, Tom. How did you feel when you saw this character pop up? And we haven't even talked about Splinter yet, but how did you feel when you saw this character?
Well, here's the thing. I see this as a few different ways. Yes, they've already had a race swapped version of April in a couple iterations. That I don't think is the problem so much as, like you just said, the fact that it's a quote unquote body positive April O'Neil.
Right. And at this point, let's say this too. If they switch a race on a character, this is almost to the point where it's boring. That's
the other part, right? Yeah, it's almost like cliche at this point. So you have both of those angles. And even if you do look at it from like the racial standpoint, look, I understand where majority of these people are coming from. She technically was white to begin with, even if she was based on a mixed race person. Peter Laird and Eric did the greatest of all the homework you need right there in his one tweet. Peter Laird himself has said that he's always seen the character as white. If you see the actual person that it's based on, even though she's mixed race, she clearly looks more white than she does dark skinned. And even people like Nina Infinity, who are on Toxic Femininity tonight, she even posted the fact that she looks more like the original April O'Neil than this chick does. Right.
Sure.
And I'm like, you're on point, really. I mean, and if you're going to go to that extent, like, yeah, if you want to go to that angle, like, okay, first of all, like Eric pointed out, in the 80s, every woman had a fucking perm.
Sure.
Everyone. Sorry, you don't have to bleep that, but everyone did.
Well,
I mean, even guys had them. Like,
right, it was the thing. And
it
now,
was the in style, yeah.
so let me tell you what I think about this. I think that this character that we're looking at here in the picture, I think she's the embodiment of Seth Rogen as a dark-skinned female. I think that he
Or
has
at least
himself
somebody
into
in his writers group or one of the
Sure.
people that are involved with this. Exactly. It's a self-insert thing. Again, and I was just going to finish up my other thing here is I understand some people's racial knee jerk to this because look, for most of people's lives, regardless of where the story originated from, 90% of the population knows April O'Neil as a white, red-haired, bubble-boobed reporter.
Sure.
Like most people would have to be pointed out that she actually didn't start as a reporter. She actually was Baxter Stockman's assistant.
Right,
But
right.
like,
And Tom, would it be fair to say too that had this trailer come out before the Peter Pan and Wendy trailer, then perhaps it wouldn't have quite the backlash it's getting. But because Disney came out with that first, now everybody's looking at this and seeing the pattern, and we know we're going to get the Little Mermaid trailer out, later too. And it seems like it's an all-out battle against people with red hair.
and that's kind of where I was headed. It's like, look, outside of Megan Fox, she's been portrayed by two different actresses that were red-haired in film. The cartoon versions, up until recently, were all generally white and red-haired.
Tom, why is it okay for Hollywood to erase women of pale skin and red hair? They're literally the genetically least represented, appearance on the planet. Why is the representation in film now under siege? They're the replaceables. Why is that?
I don't get it. I wish I had an answer. I mean, I would secede in an argument that, yeah, there probably was a time where, like you just said, they might have been overrepresented in comic books and stuff, for instance. There's a lot of red-haired.
Well, because they're rare.
Damsels,
that's got to be the thing, right? So people are attracted to both beautiful things, right? We're attracted to beauty, but we're also attracted to that which is rare. And so redheads, by virtue of the fact that they're the rarest genetic representation on the planet, that's probably alluring when you're creating a character or you're creating some kind of iconography.
And I mean, if you really want to boil down to it, that was a style choice, I believe, that was based on one of the earlier colored versions of the black and white comics where they gave her a reddish hue to her hair.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, that's the only thing I know of, because there is earlier versions of her in the comics where she has a somewhat close to what the jumpsuit she has in the Turtle show, but in the original comics, they always colored it blue, and then it ended up becoming yellow in the show, which is kind of almost like an homage to Bruce Lee, if you think about it, considering the obvious martial arts, connection here. So there was that aspect of it too, and that almost became synonymous with her, right? Like it almost became part of her character, to where they made sure to try and throw some sort of homage to that in almost every incarnation they've had in some way, shape, or form. Even in the first film, the least they did was they tried to give her the raincoat to kind of signify the yellow. Even though that was kind of the least they could do, but yeah.
One of the reasons the Turtles have worked so well is because they're literally 4 different teenage archetypes, just the embodiment of personality traits. And then those personality traits are boiled down into color representation. And so then April, being their friend, is represented by the color yellow. Now, I don't know I don't know if any of that was determined consciously or if it's just subconscious luck that came about that way.
Well, it could be conscious, because here's the thing. The original comics, the Turtles were very interchangeable.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Because they didn't know what they were doing with them yet.
Yeah, they didn't have really any distinct personalities outside of Raphael, who was kind of the one who got a little bit more
edgy, the edgelord.
Because he was a bit more edgy. So he had a bit more of the personality. The cartoon is what really kind of solidified their personalities. And between that and the toys, kind of solidified, we're going to do this color scheme thing. And again, At that point, I don't know if they had I would imagine they had some of the color prints of the comics, but whoever did the design, maybe they just said, well, yellow looks better than blue. Maybe they were trying to do something psychologically, like you just said. That could very well be not only that, because you already have the blue turtle. Why would you want a blue turtle wearing, blue? We'll give her yellow.
Exactly.
It could even been something as simple as that. We don't know.
It's helpful even when it comes down to like when you're picking your arcade buttons. It's just
exactly
helpful.
And it could be something as simple as that. It could have been something more complicated, like you just said. Point being, I was getting to is you also look at the simplicity of her name, April O'Neil. It is one of the most Irish-sounding friggin' names in the world.
Okay, Tom, I had not thought of that at all. Well played. They've switched O'Neil. Somebody with we won't even go there. Oh my God.
I mean, yes, you could sit here and make this huge, long, go on some argument about how, blah, blah, this, that, and the other, but how many...
Had not even thought of it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, not too many. Yes, there is a connection between, former slave families getting stuck with some Irish names. Sometimes that's not an impossibility. I'm not saying that, but
right.
Do you really want to hang that on this character? I apologize again for the language, but I am just
post-production is getting harder and harder
myself. I apologize. And I did at least bleep my first one, and I keep forgetting from then. But yeah, it's because I'm getting deeper into this. I'm trying to not seethe right now. There's so much more. The
longer this video goes, it's just going to be bleeping all through it. Get ready. All right, so
we'll get on to the other characters here in a minute.
So let's get into this way that it's being spun. So we've taken a look at Twitter, okay, and people can do this. This is not something that people are restricted from doing on their own. Go be your own independent journalist. Go scroll through Twitter and see if it's not, at least mixed, but probably more than likely you're going to find that the majority of the tweets are a little bit critical of what Nickelodeon and Seth Rogen are doing. But look how this is being spun and this is just full on being disingenuous. This is full on deception, and therefore it's propaganda, in my opinion. Okay, so no ill intent intended for Screen Rant, but I got to call it like I see it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans are loving that April O'Neil is black again in Mutant Mayhem. Fans are loving that April O'Neil is depicted as a black character voiced by Ayo Edebiri in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Did I say that actress? Did I say the name correctly, Tom?
I am not 100% sure. I'm not a good...
well, we'll get Adam Bentz right. And Adam Bentz is the...
I know that she's not visually representative of the person voicing the character, that's for sure.
She's a very attractive young woman. And so, but it just goes on. Fans are loving the fact that April O'Neil is black again in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem trailer based on the comic book series, blah, 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 blah. And you go down, and it just presents the world from the viewpoint of those who agree, without giving any background on what the controversy might be about, or that there is a controversy. And so when you see this, when you see one side presented without any other side presented at all, and when it clearly is not representative of what's going on, then that's what I call propaganda. And so Screen Rant, I give you that title for the day. But Tom, is this part of the course? Did we know this was going to happen all along?
Yeah. We've kind of, like I said, we've already had a couple incarnations of April where she has been race swapped already. So we've already been kind of soft prepared for that.
I don't think people cared that much about it. I honestly don't.
I don't think they did. And again,
I think that's gaslighting by Screen Rant. They want to frame the argument in a way where somebody will mess up, and then they could make another article slamming all of the people that they disagree with.
I think they already knew there were going to be some blowback. I don't know if they were necessarily expecting it to be this harsh. Yeah. Because it's been trending.
Why make your character...
I've not seen too much positivity. Like there's some defenders, but
what's the point of making the character ugly?
Here's where they don't help themselves, right? Like that's the argument that they can't get out of, is like, if this character actually looked like the actress who's playing her, you and I probably wouldn't be having this conversation, or at least the same conversation. We would be talking about the other
boring at this point. They've done it with every character there is. It's getting boring.
Right. It's cliche as hell. The reason we're talking about it is because they have decided to make her a stereotypical nerdy fat chick.
Oh, I don't even know about that. I think they've made her look like a frumpy drug addict.
Well, that's neither here nor there. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the way her clothes she's wearing, her body style, the glasses, the fact that she's clearly probably going to be some school. She's going to work for the school paper you watch.
Oh, maybe
She's
she'll be
writing stuff down. She's definitely not a reporter yet.
No, she's an activist. She'll be an activist.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. And then people are already predicting she's going to be LGBTQ.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay.
She wears that like like a sore.
Well, we got to hit
probably,
hit every side of the intersectionality playbook. So that's why she had to be overweight, and that's why they had to do the switch on the ethnicity, and of course they'll do something. Maybe she can put out some sort of very minuscule, seldomly practiced religious belief. Maybe she can put that out there. But we got to hit all the intersectionality high points for her. And you can't do that with the turtles, right? The turtles can't be swapped because they're not a race; they're a species. So that kind of messed them up.
Well, that's the problem you run into, right? Like you could get some actors of different races to portray each and every one of the turtles.
Yeah, cool.
Then outside of that, what difference does it make unless you pile some stereotypes on top of them to, show that off? Like
right.
If you want to make,
we're not even going to get into how bad the turtles are today. I mean, we'll do that another day. But
okay. Well,
besides Donatello sounding like he's 9 years old or something.
Well, all of them do except for Raph. They all sound like they're 10. Like
right.
I'm like, what
they
the
don't
heck
sound
is
like
this?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They sound like they're prepubescent Ninja Turtles.
Very much so. And I made that joke this morning too, pretty much in so many words.
So let's take a look real quick at what I said about this. This coming from That Park Place. And let's see, I did this in February. So a little while ago, I came up with this. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a franchise that has had ups and downs. It was a cultural phenomenon since the 80s cartoon dominated the 90s. Then there was some financial success that followed the Turtles, though nothing was close to equaling the original cartoon until Nickelodeon released the original CGI series. Once they acquired the property rights, by sticking with the spirit of the Turtles, the series was able to make creative turns away from some of the source material without losing the integrity of the franchise. An unnecessary reboot was kicked into high gear soon after, and it sputtered out like Sonic Boom for some of the same reasons. The series broke from the original spirit. So how do you get the Turtles back on track if you're Paramount? Well, of course, you take Seth Rogen, hot off the worst Christmas failure in the history of entertainment, and let him loose with your potential cash cow. The result? Anorexic turtles with ridiculous glasses, braces, and everything that makes teenagers feel less cool. That's what kids want out of their superheroes, acne and awkwardness. We're guessing Michelangelo will dabble in bad stuff on pizza because Seth. And so I have known this was coming ever since he was announced. Nobody was confused. Look at this stupid first piece of concept art. It looks terrible. And I
don't think anybody was looking forward to it, actually.
I hate the Hey Arnold idea of pulling the eyes apart on Michelangelo. It just looks awful.
Oh, there's so many levels to that. Like, again, like you said, we could get into the Turtles aspect of it. We hit on some of the main points. To me, the next glaring thing besides them and Bebop and Rocksteady, right next to April,
have you seen him try to put Rocksteady in the toy packaging because of the stupid proportions on it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. You got to twist its head in all kinds of awkward ways just to get it through in there.
Yeah, it's weird.
And kids will never be able to play with it because it'll fall over every time you try to pose it, while you're playing with something else. It'll never work.
Andre even pointed out one of the things that and this just shows you the attention to detail and the humor of it, because Bebop and Rocksteady were creations of the show and the toy, somewhere in between there.
Right, and probably popularized by the arcade. I mean, honestly, what made them so popular. Yeah.
Well, besides the cartoon, clearly, but yeah. And then back then, even Andre pointed out this morning, he's like, usually, Bebop's pretty well built. It's Rocksteady who's the chubby one. He goes, both of them are chubbier than hell here. I'm like, you're right, because that was kind of the joke, right? The warthog, the pig, was always nice and built, and the rhinoceros guy was always the fat guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and like you said, the designs are terrible. Splinter looks awful, and we'll be, this is a train wreck, and so just like when there's news coverage.
Thing is, sorry, I just want to say about the race thing real quick with Splinter. You have a character who's supposed to be of Japanese descent, depending on which version you're going with, and you have a Chinese actor playing him.
I didn't know that. Well, that's interesting. I guess
that's what I was referring to earlier. Sorry.
I have a joke that I will withhold for now, but there's a joke in my head that I wish I could say, but YouTube. So anyway, to me, this all looks like Velma all over again, just with a much bigger budget and a lot more writing on it. Whereas with HBO Max, Velma probably cost very little money. This is something that Paramount's actually putting money into, and watching this slow-moving train wreck where that this is not going to probably work. You know, it's one of those things where everybody's going to have to rubberneck for a little while and look over and be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that anybody allowed this series of actions to occur so that this became manifest in the world. Tom, final thoughts on just how bad all of this came out into the world today. How bad is it?
Do I think, okay, on one level, I will say, do I think that Seth and crew are setting out to attack their fans or anybody like necessarily like Velma did, or even Santa Inc. for that matter? No.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if he can control himself.
But there's the but. With April in this situation, there's your avenue, like you said, for her to be an activist and all these other bullshit
Listen,
things that shouldn't even be in this. But yeah,
one mouth off from Seth Rogen, and this thing drops 50% at the box office, because then it will enter into the mainstream consciousness, because the mainstream news is now covering this stuff. They're finally joining us and realizing that Hollywood has went nuts.
I think that is still sleeping. You want to know why I think so?
Why
because
so?
He hasn't said crap on his Twitter yet.
He
has not reposted any of this. He has not posted the trailer link yet. He hasn't done any of that stuff. So I'm not so sure if he's up yet or if his publicists have taken his phone away.
That's possible.
Because
Paramount may have people at the door.
That's what I'm saying. We can read that article from, what was it, Screen Rant you said?
Yeah.
They can have that headline, but you and I both know the reality of this.
Right. But, you know, that's just made to reinforce people who already have a position. That's all propaganda.
You know darn well there's somebody in that sphere right now who's trying to go, don't say anything.
That's right. Exactly.
And I hope that for his sake, at least, he listens, but I'm waiting for the juicy videos if he doesn't.
At best, the Turtles are on their way to a mediocre return by tricking people who aren't aware of what's going on and just want to go see a Turtles film with their kids. At worst, this will blow up even more, and it's not going to go over well. And probably if it doesn't go over well, they'll try to slime the fans in the process. But Tom, where can people find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there?
Well, thank you for having me, and I apologize again for my potty mouth. But
well, let me say this, Tom, on that potty mouth, folks. If you want to know which one's I bleeped versus him, I'm going to get a different bleep sound, so you'll know exactly.
Go for it. You can even mix it up. You can have, like, you know, Donald and a few other like
little German bicycle horns. You want to do that one for you?
Yeah, all that stuff. Whatever you want to do. You can find me on Midnight's Edge After Dark, of course, where we always love to have Pro as well join us there too. So thank you for having me.
I'm going to try and make it over there Thursday and Friday this week. Although I recommend people tune in every single day. It's a fantastic show, and I love the channel. Love you, love Andre. So everybody, make sure you check out Tom. Check out all of the crew over there. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep growing, keep learning, and keep having fun.